Welcome to the Motherhood Alliance podcast, the podcast dedicated to empowering moms and families on their health and wellness journey. I'm Brittany Suttner.
And I'm Andrea Rankus. Together, we're here to explore holistic approaches that go beyond conventional medicine.
Each week, we dive into topics that matter most to you, everything from nutrition and mental health to alternative therapies and natural living.
We'll bring you the expert interviews, insightful discussions, and practical tips to make motherhood a little easier and help your family thrive.
Please keep in mind that this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended to replace the advice, diagnosis, or treatment plans you have with your personal healthcare team. Please have a conversation with your trusted healthcare provider prior to making any changes or implementing any strategies or advice you learn from this podcast.
Whether you're a new mom navigating the early stages of parenthood or a seasoned pro looking for new ways to support your family's well-being, you're in the right place.
Here at the Motherhood Alliance podcast, we challenge the status quo, ask the tough questions, and offer a supportive community for moms who want to make an informed, holistic choice.
Thank you for joining us on this journey.
Let's get started. Hi, we are Britt and Andrea from motherhoodalliance.com, and we are excited to introduce you to Martha Bailey, a board-certified nurse coach and the owner of Wellness on the Wolf based out of Fremont, Wisconsin. As a nurse coach, Martha specifically loves to help adults better manage stress and anxiety, find work-life balance, improve sleep, support sustainable weight loss, and navigate life changes. With a background that spans hospital work, travel nursing, and many years in oncology, Martha brings a deep experience perspective to coaching, which we can actually personally speak to because both Drea and I have experienced her coaching ourselves. And we can tell you that she is not only incredible to work with, but she's truly an amazing human being. Outside of her work, she loves being outdoors, playing recreational volleyball, paddleboarding, cheering on sports teams, and spending quality time with her husband and their 3 daughters. We're excited to introduce you to her now. Hello, everyone. We are excited to welcome Martha Bailey to the podcast. Welcome, Martha.
Hi, good to be here.
We're excited to have a few different episodes with you on multiple different topics. And in this one, we're going to be talking about how to set goals without feeling guilty about the outcome. You are a nurse coach, and we're going to get a little bit more into what that means in a little bit, but I'm excited to have your expertise, not only from the medical background side, but also just the nursing and the coaching side. So you've had a lot of education in multiple realms. But before we dive into that, let's talk a little bit about you. And we always love to ask a fun fact. You shared about a skydiving experience. So why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I went skydiving with some friends back in my early 20s, and it was one of those impromptu kind of, let's go skydiving this weekend. So we booked an appointment, went, and it was amazing. I would love to do that again or share that experience with my kids as they get older.
Would you? Because when I was in my early 20s, it was a good experience, but I don't know. I have kids and I don't want to, if something happened, you think that now.
Yeah, we did a whole day of instruction. Right. I mean, they did a really good job of going through things. So I feel like, I wouldn't force anyone to do that, but I felt like it was just really freeing and kind of neat to not have the fear of heights, because you really didn't have a concept of height when you're way up high.
It's true. You're really high, and then you just did you go tandem? Or
no,
did you go? Oh, you went on your own?
I pulled the chute within a few seconds, so it wasn't a free fall for very long at all. But it was.
I don't know if I could do that.
My stomach just turned.
I did
just thinking
tandem.
About it.
I did tandem, and that was still instructing, obviously. But they were in charge, so wow, good for you.
Yeah, it was fun. We got to figure out how to control for the landing and everything like that, and it was just really. And you had radio, so it was great. And even talking about it now, it's like it was a long time ago, but I can still feel just they say go.
Yeah.
And then you go.
And then you go. You just do it. You turn off your brain. Any kind of thought process, it's gone. Just go and jump off the perfectly good airplane, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Our dad did that. You remember that?
That was way back when.
Oh, yeah.
Now that you
I don't think they have
do.
radios. I remember my pink little boots, and we had to search for them in a field somewhere.
Oh, my.
Yeah. It was the same thing. He did an all-day thing. And
yeah, my dad actually had done that when he was young, and my sister had done that too. So it was kind of fun because we didn't do it together, but we've all had that experience. So
well, I'm excited that you're not only someone we know professionally, but also someone we'd call a friend, because as your kids get older and are out of the house and doing their own thing, I feel like you're just going to be a little adrenaline junkie.
I do like adventure and exploring.
I love that.
Yeah, so fun. Sounds like something we should all 3 do.
Yeah, right. Excellent. Well, jumping out of a perfectly good airplane or just adventure?
Both.
Okay. All right. Well, okay.
All right. Well, let's jump into your story, Martha. I'd love to hear a little bit about your experiences. I know you started out more in the medical field with nursing. Now you're doing your own business as a nurse coach. Tell us about your journey.
Yeah. So I started off in nursing, and oncology was the field I started as a medical assistant before when I was in nursing school. And I really did love working with cancer patients. I was in the hospital, and then I ended up going to California to do travel nursing. And I had a bunch of places I was going to go to, and I met my now husband in California. So that is where I stayed for almost 3 years, and different travel opportunities out there. I worked in a bone marrow transplant unit, which was very intense, lots of learning. And then we got married out there, and then he wanted to come back to Wisconsin. So we came back, and I still stayed in oncology, but more the clinic world. So I did various things for quite some time, had my 3 girls, and then I went down to like more part-time work. And when I found coaching, it was sort of what do I want to do when I grow up? What else can I do with nursing? Because I loved what I did, but it was less than part-time. And I just wanted to kind of see what else was out there. And somehow coaching came up, and I'm like, nurse coach, what's that?
Yeah, well, why don't you go ahead and define that for us?
Yeah, so really it started with nurses coaching nurses that were getting burned out, stressed out in the hospitals, overwhelmed, not taking care of themselves, but we're so good at taking care of others and being compassionate and really bending over backwards for our patients. So it did start with nurses kind of coaching nurses within hospitals to help them from burnout and turnover. But since it's grown where it's not, I can coach nurses, but it's coaching anyone and just helping them with changing little habits in their life through conversation, setting goals and action steps, and holding them accountable, some motivation, gathering resources. But it's very different in the traditional sense of like nursing in the clinic or hospital. Nurses will often say, here's what you need to do. Here's the information the doctor said. Do this, take this. This is more, what do you want? How do we get there? So I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm bringing it out in you of what you want, and then what's your commitment level, and how can we get there together and create these action steps together, trying different things. It's almost like a science experiment, different action steps, different tools, trying them out. Some will really work well. Some people will try and be like, nope, that's not for me. Then we can set that aside and move on to something else.
Well, and the accountability piece that you mentioned is something I feel like that's a huge piece of what people need, is that where people set goals all the time. Think about New Year's resolutions, or even just somebody has a vacation coming up and now they're setting all sorts of new health goals specifically, which you would focus on things outside of health goals as well too. But the accountability piece and having somebody that's going to check in with you.
Yeah, that's
is
huge.
Such a big piece. And then you being trained to ask specific types of questions to draw that out of people. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's amazing how sometimes too, just having a person say something out loud, and then I might just pause and say, why don't you say that again? And hearing them say something that they've been wanting, or a step of what they would want to try, there's something in your brain where it really does change that little bit of like motivation, and just the awareness around it can be the catalyst to change. And sometimes me saying something back to them. Did you hear what you said? It's really, really, really beautiful to see some of this, as hard as it is sometimes, how powerful it can be just with conversation.
Mm-hmm. Well, and obviously with goal setting, that's something we're going to be talking about in this episode, is I think a lot of people really do struggle with that because they want an end result. Even if they kind of know how to get there, there's a process in the middle that you have to walk through, and that can be really hard. And setting goals can be a good thing, but also you really don't want to feel the guilt feeling if you don't reach it.
Yeah.
Right?
And sometimes just the word goal, I've worked with some clients that word is almost like a trigger and feels like they're already set up for failure, or they're not going to meet that goal, or how can I work on it for myself with the guilt? So sometimes it's figuring out what other words might work for them. So it might just be a little change of words of what does that mean? Is it really just, this is what I want to achieve? It can just be a little bit of shifting of words to make it work better for that person. So yeah, that's kind of neat too, just to everyone's individualized, all the conversations. I can't tell you at the beginning of a session what we're going to end up talking about at the end of the session. And it's so neat to see how it transpires and can trickle into other areas too. Someone might come for me for a certain reason, like stress management or setting goals, but it might also shift to like self-worth. Do I feel like I'm valued enough to work on myself? And there might be some other underlying things to address first.
What would be some different ways of saying goals? Because even as you're talking, we were just talking about goals with my oldest son last night, and he's 12. And I think it bothers him to say, like, set goals, because he's a perfectionist and he has that like thought process. I feel that if he sets a goal and he doesn't achieve it, then, it's the end of the world. It's not going to, like, there's guilt, there's shame, there's whatever. And it's not that we put that on him, but it's something he puts on himself. So like if you have somebody who's having trouble with that goal word or, setting those kinds of things, how do you kind of coach them through that?
Some of the questions I would ask would be like, what do you want your life to be like in a few weeks? How about in a few months? What is your day-to-day thoughts that when you wake up, what goes through your mind? What would you like to replace that with? So sometimes it's really digging into the more specific of what's holding them back or what is overwhelming about the word goals to really figure out, how does that can you tell me a time when you did achieve something? How did that feel? How would that feel today to put it to whatever we're talking about, whatever we're working on, whatever's bothering them? How can we look at that and see, like, what would it feel like to accomplish that? Yeah. Or what would it feel like to just, take a step towards that?
Well, and also, like, when you ask those questions, you're not just digging into, like, the problem of, setting up a goal. It's really digging into, like, why do you have that, that issue with this certain topic, right?
Yeah.
And then you kind of discover more about yourself. And something I love about you, Martha, and like Brittany said in the introduction, we've worked with you ourselves too. And the way that you ask questions is very natural. It's very easy to talk to you.
Yeah. And with that question too, like one of my favorite sequences, and doesn't always come up with everyone, but is, what do you want? What do you really want? And then why is that important to you? And then they'll usually say an answer. And then you ask why. And this is an exercise that you can ask why 6 or 7 more times. And each time you ask, and why is that important to you? You get deeper. Yeah. And usually the last answer is the one that's the most powerful why.
Yeah, it's so good. I mean, that's something that you can do for yourself or your kids.
It is. Yeah, you can even write about that too. Like, it doesn't have to be in conversation. Sometimes it's like, what do I really want? What do I want for today? What do I want to have, accomplished this week? And why is that important to me? And then ask it again after you write it down. Why is that important to me from your answer? And you get to dig deeper with even just journaling with yourself. And it's an easy way to kind of get to the root of why this matters.
Absolutely.
What about goals where part of it is out of your control?
That's a good, yes.
Like, for example, someone who is an entrepreneur comes to mind for this, because they may be like, okay, I have this certain business goal, because in order to hit that goal, that's when I can start putting food on the table for my family, or something else that I want to help this many people this year. But there's also marketing and algorithms and like other things involved that are kind of out of your control. So how do you navigate someone through that?
Yeah, usually, again, it's coming back to what is within your control. What are things you can control? You can control what you say, what you do. Your thoughts are trickier. Our thoughts can sometimes go places and all over or spiral, and our brains are meant to protect us. Sometimes it's negative thoughts, and that is a protective mechanism for us to survive. But asking yourself, is this thought real? So really kind of figuring out what is within my control, my words, my actions. Before you speak, maybe pausing to say, how would I normally say this? Is there something I can change to say it a little differently that maybe there'll be a different response for? And then a lot of times with, things you can't control, like your spouse or what they're going to say or do, or your boss, or different situations that are outside your control, well, then you have other questions. So what do I want to do about that? Is this really important to me to keep going forward and figuring out how to make this work? Or can I say something differently? Can I make a different proposal? Like, really just asking yourself a lot of questions. And that's where coaching is. Sometimes it's even myself. I have my own coach because I need to be asked those questions. And sometimes I'm good at asking myself, but someone else really just, it's magical how they can pull things out of you and help you figure out where you want to go next.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's so helpful to have someone that has the 10,000 foot view instead of like, because we're just so ingrained inside of our own thoughts and bucket that sometimes we have a hard time stepping out. I mean, I'm saying that from
every
personal
kind of
experience.
Yeah, I was going to say that's business, personal, everything.
Yeah. What about if you have a goal and you're really not on track and it's like midway toward it? Like, how do you help people pivot this without feeling guilt that I'm not hitting what I originally wanted and it's already showing up?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is to talk about guilt. What does that mean? What ways are you feeling guilty? Is it because you're not spending time with your family? Is it because you have yourself set to some expectations? I think, as you both remember, we talk about agreements versus expectations at the beginning of every coaching call. Just because if we can learn to live in a world of agreements versus expectations, we don't set ourselves up for failure. We don't set ourselves up for frustration. It's agreeing to be in that space, agreeing to explore what's possible, really can help both parties involved, whether it's the coach and the client, or spouse, or kids, or boss, or whatever, somebody in the community, like your relationship. But really, that trying to live in a world of agreements, to talk together, work together, keep trying, like we tell our kids, instead of expecting that there's going to be an outcome. And then when that doesn't happen, we're feeling guilty, we're feeling frustrated, we're feeling upset, disappointed, like all the things.
Are you a fan of like celebrating along the way?
Absolutely, yes.
So what would be some examples of ways you could do that?
Yeah, so really, I love celebrating the small wins. Sometimes it may seem so tiny, somebody accomplishes something that's really not a big goal. It's maybe their big goal is to lose 20 pounds. But that day, they didn't, they made a choice in their, whether there's food or their movement. Maybe they snuck in a little extra walk around the block. Then I'll pause and say, smile. Let's celebrate that win, and really just focusing a moment to really just think about those little things, because those little things do add up to the big things. And obviously celebrating the big wins too, but I think the little wins are almost more important, because that helps with motivation. That keeps things going to, okay, now what do I want to work on? And it just really does. Often we just get going on to the next thing in this world. It's like the next, that scrolling, the next thing. Whether you accomplish it or not, or you give up, then you move on to the next. But really pausing to see, how was I successful? What did I do that made me feel good? Or, maybe I didn't even realize I made a choice that was along this path for my goal.
Mm-hmm. I love that acknowledgement. That's so important.
I feel like whether it's the guilt side or the recognizing achievement side, all of these tiny things really do speak to our like subconscious and our self-worth. Like going back to what you were saying, we can oftentimes catch ourselves with negative self-talk, but also at the same time, I feel like so much of it passes through us without us even realizing it.
Yeah. And with the guilt, just going back to, why is this important? And another question I love to ask is, if you had a friend or a family member facing what you're facing and feeling that guilt, what would you say to them? When we sometimes flip that, how would you support them? What could you do or say? It seems so natural. We want to help. We want to do things. We want to keep it up. Like, we're so much better at supporting others. But when it's us, that guilt can really feel heavy. So trying to just flip the shoes of what would you say to someone facing what you're facing, and having those thoughts, having these, barriers pop up, obstacles. That's also another revealing question that sometimes is, a lot of people laugh after that. They're kind of like, oh, yeah.
I like how you had mentioned some like tangible things that we can do as well, because a lot of this is mental, right? Of just controlling our thoughts and like learning how to speak to ourselves and being mentally strong, but also being flexible and having grace with ourselves. But there is sometimes also nice to have some tangible things. So you had mentioned journaling could be a good thing, giving yourself some rewards if you're hitting certain things and just acknowledging that. And that could be tangible rewards too. Go out and get a coffee or something from your favorite place. Do you have any other like areas that people could look, see, feel type thing that could help them along with goals?
Oh, that's a great question. Again, it's kind of different for everyone, because some people may not feel that's necessarily like a reward, or like that's different for everyone. But sometimes it's hearing that somebody else is noticing some of the changes. They may not understand it, but they might, like their spouse might be like, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And they don't really get it. I think those are some of the most rewarding things, is when you hear from other people in your life some support, or they're questioning like, what's going on? Like, because coaching will trickle through to the other areas of your life. And then, just whether it's journaling, maybe going out to buy a new notebook. I had someone that had like a box of all these notebooks for journaling, and they were mostly empty, or she'd start and then stop. And I said, well, what do you want to do? And she said, I just want to use one for everything. So that's what she did. Like, it's the permission to do something almost. It's like allowing yourself to do something to continue exploring those habit changes. And
yeah. And it also makes me even think about with my kids having countdowns for something that is, obviously this wouldn't apply to all goals, but for something that is time-based or days-based, having something where you can cross it off, because then it does feel like it's short-term instead of this long, it's never going to be here type goal ending. So
and we've used like sticker charts for some people. That works really well. Like certain okay, if I accomplish this, I'm going to put a sticker on there, or mark a little smiley on my calendar. So there's different tools like that you can use to like mark the progress, or see when maybe there wasn't a great day, but then permission to let that day
let it go.
Be behind
let it go. Yeah.
So Martha, if someone is interested in learning more about nurse coaching, just asking you some questions, seeing if maybe you'd be a good fit for what they're looking for, what would be a good way to contact you? And then do you offer like a free discovery session or anything like that?
Yeah. So I do offer free 60-minute discovery sessions, because coaching really is an experience, and to see if we're a good fit, have a conversation, see where you want to start. Maybe you don't have goals in mind, so you just know that you're stuck. So having that conversation to kind of work out and talk through to get unstuck, to figure out where to start, how to take a breath. And so they can look me up on wellnessonthewolf.com, and they can book a free discovery session right through there. I have some dates and times available. If there's not something that's available, they can still put a request in, and then I will reach back to them. I will do a phone consult initially, or the video chat on a secure, HIPAA-compliant, secure platform is what I like to do for video chats or phone call, whatever's most comfortable for that person. If they're within a close local range, I will also meet in person. So I love kind of doing what is most comfortable for the client.
Yeah. And like we mentioned, Drea and I have both worked with Martha, and she just is a gem. Like, I feel like if you're stuck with anything, reach out to her and just have a conversation and see if she can help you get through it, because this world is hard.
Yeah. And that discovery call I had with Martha, the first one, like she didn't hold back either. Like, she actually did help with some things that I could do right away. So that was pretty amazing.
We do have 3 more episodes coming up with Martha. Our next one is going to be talking about how to manage stress during major life changes. And this could be having a baby. It could be a career change. It could be moving. It could be a death of a loved one. There's just so many things where general life can feel stressful, and then you throw in these big ticket items, and it's so hard to manage even the everyday things. And so Martha's going to give us some tips for walking through times like that. In episode 3, we're going to be diving into kind of a whole different realm that Martha specializes in. She's put a program together called The Path Ahead, and this is going to be where you're organizing all of your important life information. It should be organized in case something happens. Tomorrow isn't promised. Or for our parents, so that if something happens to them, we can easily find it. So that's going to be an amazing episode that really everybody should be listening to. And then we're going to have a bonus episode too.
Yeah.
We're not going to drop the hint yet on what that one is, because it's going to be really good. All right, we'll be back shortly with our next episode. If you enjoyed this episode, would you consider leaving a rating or review, or sharing it directly with a friend who could benefit from the information? We know that you're a busy mom or caregiver, and our goal is to make your life easier by bringing tips and tricks directly from experts into your earbuds. By sharing this episode with someone you love, you can play a critical role in helping to make their life easier as well. We appreciate your time, and thank you for being a part of the Motherhood Alliance family.